Hi my dear students, this is Murthy. Welcome back to Raghav Math e-learning. In today's class, I am going to explain about limits. So many of the students, they confuse with limits. What is limit? When limit exists? When limit does not exist? What is right hand limit? What is left hand limit? So many students are confusing with all those things. So that is the reason for better understanding I am going to take graphs to explain the concept of limits. See, coming to this, limit extends to 0, 1 by x. So, limit extends to 0, 1 by x. The meaning is, if x approaches to 0, this function approaches to what? So, if x approaches to 0, this function approaches to what? Is it? So, x approaches to 0 means, suppose here we have 0. So, from right side I can approach 0 and from left side also I can approach 0. So, if you approach 0 from right side, that is here right limit. That is denoted by 0 plus. So, that is right side to 0. Is it? Suppose if you approach 0 from left side, that is left limit. That is denoted by 0 minus. That is left to 0. Okay. See here. Now I am going to investigate all the values of 1 by x when x approaches to 0 from right hand side. Okay. So x is close to 0 from right hand side. Suppose I am taking x 0.1. If x 0.1, it is what? 1 by 0.1, that is 10. You know that. So we approach to 0, is it right? So I am taking now x 0.01. So it is close to 0 than this, right? So 1 by 0.01. What we got? 100. Still x equal to 0.001. Then what we got? 1000. If you are very close to 0, then here what we got? 10 power 7. So like that. If x approaches to 0, I mean if x is close to 0, the value what? Indefinitely increases, is it right? So when you approach 0 from right side, the function approaches to very larger values, is it? So the function approaches to very larger values. So very large value is denoted by what? Infinity, is it? That is the reason we take limit extends to 0 plus 1 by x is plus infinity. I think you understand. Coming to this concept, limit extends to 0 minus 1 by x. Now approach 0 from left hand side. Okay. So left hand side to 0. So negative values, is it? So first x minus 0.1. Then we get minus 1 by 0.1, it is minus 10. Is it? And next minus 0.01. So approach to 0. Here it become what? Minus 1 by 0.01, that is minus 10 square. Is it? Like that. If you are very close to 0, if you are very close to 0 from left hand side, the value decreases. Here negative sign is there, is it? So the values decreases. So that is very least values. So if x approaches to 0 from left hand side, these values approaches to very least values. So very least value means that is denoted by what? Minus infinity, is it? So limit extends to 0 minus 1 by x is minus infinity. So if you approach 0 from right hand side, what is happening? Function approaches to infinity, is it? If you approach 0 from left hand side, function approaches to what? Minus infinity. That is the reason here function is not approaching to one value when x approaches to 0 from right side or left side. That is the reason Here we can take limit x tends to 0, 1 by x does not exist. Is it? So limit x tends to 0, 1 by x does not exist. Now we go through the graph of 1 by x. So y equal to 1 by x. So if you draw the graph, so this is the graph for y equal to 1 by x. Okay. Once you observe the graph, is it? So 1 by x is defined at everywhere except 0. Is it? 1 by x is defined at everywhere except 0. So when we approach 0, then what is happening? We have the interest to know that. Is it right? Why? Because we are unable to give x0. Is it? That is undefined, right? So here, using limits concept, we are interested in knowing what is happening there when x approaching to 0. Is it? So you can approach 0 either from right side or from left side. Is it? Suppose approach 0 from right side. Approach 0 from right side. So that is limit x tends to 0 plus 1 by x. Is it? So you observe that if you are very close to 0 from right hand side, if you are very close to 0 from right hand side, the functional value is very close to what? Infinity. Is it? See, if you are very close to 0, the functional value is very close to infinity. So plus infinity. Is it? So it is infinity. Suppose if you take limit x tends to 0 minus 1 by x, what is happening? So now approach 0 from left hand side. So approach 0 from left hand side. And if you are very close to 0, what about the function you observe? So if you are very close to 0 from left hand side, then the function approaches to this. I mean, function approaches to minus infinity. Is it? So it is minus infinity. Is it? So right limit plus infinity, left limit minus infinity. So is function approaching to one value? No. Is it? That is the reason limit x tends to 0, 1 by x does not exist. Now we take that limit x tends to 0, 1 by mod x. So first we draw the graph for this. Is it? So x-axis, y-axis, it is the origin, negative x-axis and negative y-axis. Okay. Now 1 by mod x. Anyhow, if x approaches to infinity, this approaches to 0, right? So it is close to 0 there at x equal to infinity, at x approaches to infinity. So if x approaches to 0 from right hand side, if x approaches to 0 from right hand side, anyhow it will be positive infinity, right? So curve will be here. So the curve will be like this. Is it? Observe this curve 1 by mod x. Is it even function? Yes, it is even function. I mean, if you take x equal to 1, what value you get? For x equal to minus 1 also, you get the same value. Is it right? So the curve will be like this for all the negative values. Is it? Now you observe that if x approaches to 0 from right hand side, x approaches to 0 from right hand side, the function approaches to what? Infinity. Is it? What is the function? 1 by mod x. Is it? Next, if x approaches to 0 from left hand side, then the function approaches to what? That is also infinity. Is it? So you observe that when x approaches to 0, the function approaches to very larger values. Is it? So limit x tends to 0, 1 by mod x is what? Infinity. But limit x tends to 0, 1 by x is what? Does not exist. Try to observe the two graphs. Here you see that if x is close to 0, is function approaching to same value? Yes, function approaching to same value. But here, if x approaching to 0, is function approaching to same value? No. If x approaches to 0 from right side, function approaches to plus infinity. If x approaches to 0 from left side, function approaches to minus infinity. So here limit does not exist. But here limit existed. Is it? Suppose I am taking one function limit x tends to 1 by x minus 1. Okay. So for this, if you draw the graph, you tell where it is not defined at x equal to 1. So at x equal to 1, you take one vertical line. Okay. Suppose this is x equal to 1. Take one vertical line. Okay. Na? Now you tell that if x tends to 1 plus, then this function tends to positive infinity. Is it? If x approaches to 1 plus, so if x approaches to 1 from right side, then it is what? Approaches to plus infinity. Is it? Suppose if x approaches to 1 minus, function approaches to what? Minus infinity. Is it? So if x approaches to infinity, so 1 by that infinity, that become what? 0. So that becomes 0. So the graph will be like this. Is it? X approaches to 1 from left hand side, then function approaches to minus infinity. Minus infinity. Is it? So the graph will be like this. Now you observe that at x equal to 1, what is happening? If x approaches to 1, I mean if x is very very close to 1, is the function approaches to unique value? No. From right side it approaches to plus infinity. From left side it approaches to minus infinity. So is limit exist for this at x equal to 1? No. So answer is this limit does not exist. Okay. Suppose if it is limit x tends to 0, 1 by x square. Is limit exist? Yes, limit existed. Is it? Why? Because here for this, limit x tends to 0 plus 1 by x square become positive infinity. At the same time, 0 minus 1 by x square is also positive infinity. Why? Because it is even function. Okay, na? So x approaches to 0 from right side, you get positive infinity. From left side also that minus become plus and you get positive infinity only. So if you observe the graph of this 1 by x square, is it? So here 1 by x square. So x approaches to infinity. X value approaches to infinity. The function approaches to 0. Is it? So at infinity it is 0, nearer to 0, right? X approaches to infinity, it close to 0, right? Next, if x approaches to 0 from right hand side, 0 plus, then it approaches to plus infinity. So again the graph will be like this. And here coming to this 1 by x square, even function, right? So even you take negative values, is the graph symmetric with respect to y-axis? Yes. So the curve will be like this. Now you observe that if x approaches to 0 from right side or left side, the function approaches to what? The function approaches to same value. Is it? The function approaches to very very larger values. Is it right? So function approaches to what? Infinity. Is it clear? Suppose I am taking that limit x tends to 0 mod x by x. Mod x by x. Okay. See now. Here function is f of x equal to mod x by x. Suppose I am taking that x greater than 0. So if x greater than 0, what is f of x? it is x by x, that is 1, is it? Suppose if x less than 0, what is mod x? Minus x by x, it is minus 1, is it? Just you try to draw the graph for this ones. So origin, x-axis, y-axis, okay? Suppose I am taking this is 1 and it is minus 1, okay? I am going to draw the graph of y equal to mod x by x, is it? Is this function defined at 0? No. So this is not defined at 0, okay? If x greater than 0, I mean if x is positive, what is functional value? 1, is it? So if x1, x2, x3, x4, whatever it may be, x is positive, what is the functional value? 1. So the graph will be like this. If x is positive, always we get what? 1 only, is it? Suppose x is negative. If x is negative, always it is minus 1 only, is it? Now you tell limit x tends to 0 plus f of x. Yes, limit x tends to 0 plus f of x. So if x approaching to 0 from right hand side, function approaching to what value? 1, is it? Suppose x tends to 0 minus f of x. So x approaching to 0 from left hand side, then function approaching to what value? Minus 1. Clear? So what is right limit? 1. What is left limit? See, graph you observe that. So if x approaching to 0, is the function approaching to same value? No. X approaching to 0, is the function approaching to larger values? Is it right? So here limit existed. But here if x approaching to 0, function is not approaching to 1 value, right? So if x approaches to 0 from right side, function approaches to 1. X approaches to 0 from left side, function approaches to minus 1. So is limit exist or not? No. So limit does not exist. So limit x tends to 0, f of x does not exist. That is the answer to this problem. See, coming to these examples, coming to second one, this is the graph of a function. Suppose we have to find limit x tends to 2 f of x, okay? So listen carefully. Limit x tends to 2 f of x, meaning you know that if x approaches to 2, function is approaches to what, right? So x approaches to 2. So two cases we have, you know that. So you can approach 2 from right side or you can approach 2 from left hand side, is it? So suppose you approach 2 from right side. If you approach 2 from right side, the function approaches to this, is it? Here what is this value? What is this value? 1, is it? So function approaches to what value? 1. So if x approaching to from right hand side, if x approaching to from right hand side, the function approaching to what value? 1, is it? If x approaches to 2 from left hand side, then also the curve will be like this, na? So the function approaching to what value again? 1. So is right limit equal to left limit here? Yes. So right limit equal to left limit and that value is what? 1. So limit existed. What is that limit? Limit is 1. So here function is not defined at 2. Function is not defined at 2, but limit existed at x equal to 2, is it? So here what happened? What is limit x tends to 2 plus f of x? So if x approaches to 2 from right side, function approaches to what value? 1, is it? Like that, limit x tends to 2 minus f of x. So x approaches to 2. Function approaches to what? Here, x approaches to 2 from left side. Function approaches to what value? Yes, the function approaches to again 1 only. Is it right? So limit existed, that limit is 1, right? Coming to this example, limit x tends to 2 plus f of x. Suppose here it is 1 and this is 2 and we can take it is 3. Okay. Now you tell, what is limit x tends to 2 plus f of x? Means x approaching to 2 from right hand side. So x is approaching to 2 from right hand side. The function approaching to what value? So right hand side. So this. So function like this. So function is approaching to what value? 3. Is it? Limit x tends to 2 minus f of x. Is it? So 2 minus. So x approaches to 2 from left hand side. Left hand side. So function approaches to what value? This value. What is this value here? It is 1. Is it? So it is 1. Is limit exists at x equal to 2? No, limit does not exist. So these two are not equal. So limit x tends to 2 f of x does not exist. Coming to this example. So this is the given graph. First asking, what is limit x tends to 1 f of x? Yes, you tell. 1 plus function approaches to what value? This value. What is this value? 2. Yes, okay. Now 1 minus. So left side to 1. Then function approaches to what value again? 2 only. Yes, limit exists. That limit is what? 2. Limit x tends to 2 f of x. So if x approaches to 2 from right hand side, then function approaches to this value, that is 2, is it? X approaches to 2 from left hand side, then function approaches to this value. This value is what? 2. Is limit exist or not? Yes, limit exists. Now it's your turn to give the answer for this. Students, I think you understood this concept. Hope you enjoy the learning. Share this video with your friends. Subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon to get latest notifications. Thank you.